Welcome to all my astrology friends out there. This is the video about the new moon in Gemini. And it's first of all, a little bit in general what this is all about. And then we are going to have a look at the 12 signs. I hope this is not going to be too long of a video because it's actually quite clear what this message is all about with this new moon in Gemini. So when is it? First and foremost, it's around and about the 18th of June that we are having this new moon. And it's around 26 degrees of Gemini squaring up to Neptune at 27 degrees. What is a new moon? It's the sun and the moon together, in this case in Gemini, as always around this timing. And a new moon emphasizes always a new beginning, always a new start. It's planting of the seeds, period. And in Gemini, it's about our mind, how we think, how we pick up information, how we talk, how we communicate with each other. There's a new a reset, you could say. Every time we have a new moon in a sign, it's some sort of a reset, and it's an opportunity for a new beginning, depending on where this energy is in your chart. So as I said, in Gemini, Gemini is actually a very fun sign, an air sign. It wants to talk about little things, small talk. Gemini is the salesman, who can talk to a CEO, but who can also talk to a farmer. I mean, they can adjust. It's a flexible sign. And it's a lot about wittiness, cleverness, and communication, as I said. But now, what is the flavor of this? Is there something going on with other planets, with outer planets, that is? And what is the ruler of this new moon doing? The ruler of this new moon is Mercury, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury is in its own sign. It's in Gemini. That's a good thing. So it looks like pretty good when it comes to how we are going to see things, how we are going to pick up information and filter information into interesting information. Let's put it that way. But the thing is, just before, what is happening before and after, just before this new moon, Mercury will have just bumped into Saturn in a square. Now, this is a sign of serious conversations, of conversations that, those conversations that aren't really always nice to do. And this energy is already, you kind of feel it already around the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th of June. It's a bit of a building up. And on the 18th, when the new moon is, this aspect is fading away. So we are coming out of that energy. So this shows that just before the new moon, we had some conversations that were very real, to say the least. Saturn, that were very real, that were about boundaries, that were about structure, and conversations that we cannot run away from. So those mature, responsible communication. It's a square, so probably it was not the nicest, but in some area of our life, we are all going to feel that energy. Now, on the day of the new moon, as I said, this new moon squares into Neptune. So that means a fogginess, you could say some insecurity, absolutely not really being secure of where you're standing and where you're going and where you're heading. But the whole thing about Neptune is indeed to trust and to go with the flow, to, of course, do your best and let God do the rest. That is in a nutshell Neptunian transits, but the sun and the moon in a square to Neptune on that day of the new moon means that we had that information coming out, and we are a bit emotionally, but also in general, we are a little bit lost there. We are a little bit lost, and in a way that we can't solve it directly. But as soon as we go into like the 19th of June and onwards, there is very positive energy with this ruler of the new moon, Mercury, because Mercury is sextiling Venus and is going to sextile Mars as well. So this shows truth coming out. Well, not so much that it was hidden, or because that's a Pluto thing, but just truth is said and hard reality. Then there is a bit the fogginess, like, well, what are we gonna do with it? What is happening? Also, with Neptune, there's a lot of disillusionment, right? This is the feeling of I'm disillusioned here. I'm having the feeling like I'm deceived. And but of course, we are only deceived and disillusioned when we have too high expectations. So it all has to do with that, with having too high expectations or not seeing things clearly enough. And then after that, we have the solution. We have the communication, Mercury in a gentle way expressing itself through Venus in a sextile, because sextile is quite nice energy. And it's also putting us into actions, because this this Mercury is also sextiling Mars for the upcoming days after that new moon. So that is pretty good news. We find our stability back, and we act in a way that is in line with our thoughts, which is nice, isn't it? I mean, sometimes it's like, the heart and the mind is working well. The heart, because it's Venus and Mars in Leo, is working well with Mercury, the reasoning in Gemini. So that's a good thing. So it's a couple of days where we are all going to feel a little bit like, what's happening here? And you don't know what's going on. But the more you try to force it, what's going on, the worse it gets. That's with the Neptune transit. So advice here is definitely, when a conversation needs to be made, you do it, but then sit with the energy of, not knowing and being a little bit confused there and being in the mist, right? What do you do when you drive a car and you're in the mist? You just slow down. So there's nothing wrong with that. And trusting. Yes, Neptune is all about trust, and it's all about seeing different perspectives and information that will come out then, and dealing with reality, which is what this is all about. It's about things that we said to ourselves that were or imagined that were not there. So that's what Neptune is doing. Neptune, it's not doing anything, but Neptune squaring up to the sun and the moon is that we are a bit more tempted than normal to just see what we want to see, basically. And we all have that sometimes, right? That we just want to see what we want to see, either to escape or either to just deal with a situation that is painful. It's all that kind of energy that if we sit with it, the solutions do come and we can put action into it. So quite a bit of a foggy full kind of new moon, because the new moon in Gemini is a very, mental kind of energy. And with Gemini, you could be really, the pitfall is really like the monkey mind, right? That you want to solve it and you see, is it this? Is it that? Is it that? What is the solution? What is the question? Why? You're not going to get that answer yet around that new moon, and certainly not before. So slowly but surely after this new moon, you will know what to do and how to do it in a passionate way and in a good way and in a fiery way. But around those days, expect to be this fogginess energy, and it's there to give space to reality so that it shows us what's going on. It's rather not chasing. If you're having Neptune transits, for instance, don't chase. It's like, let the universe reveal what it wants to show you, even if you're not liking it. And so it's a pretty interesting new moon in a way that the thing to warn for with this new moon is indeed the victim role. You know, it's always me, it's always blah, blah, blah. And that's really a downside of Neptune. You know, it's all bigger than me and I don't have any power, blah, 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 blah. It's all that victim role that we have to be very careful of. But also about high expectations. Where is it in your life? And I'm going to have a look at where Neptune is, that we kind of have too much expectations, too high expectations. It's all good and well to, don't get me wrong here, you may have expectations in a relationship and so on and in certain things. That's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes they are too high and sometimes they're not realistic. So this is an opportunity to see it and to renew our communication so that we communicate in a better, clearer way, not in the negative side of Gemini, which is gossip, which is, you know, I'm saying one thing, but I'm also saying another thing. It's the trickster Gemini. So, but I think that this will really go well because Mercury is in its own sign and it's also aspecting so beautifully with this Venus and Mars. So I think a bit confusing, yes, but we definitely have all the wherewithal to come out of that confusion and even acting on a new way of seeing things. And that's what this is all about. And it's quite often, isn't it, that first we have to be blind and not see anything before we clearly can see something. So, but other than that, it's definitely you could say a new moon with a lot of positive energy as well, with a lot of, you know, wittiness and joyfulness for life for sure. Let's have a look at this, at all the signs, the 12 signs, where it is that this new beginning is starting and where it is that we have to watch out for confusion so that we are a bit prepared here for those energies. We cannot change the energy, but we can be prepared so that it goes smoothlier, that we go with the flow. So for Aries people, this new beginning is in the 3rd house. So this in itself is a very communicative house. It's also a relationship house. The relationship with our siblings, the relationship with neighbors, the relationships with people in our neighborhood is very much the 3rd house. So there is some new beginning there. So there could be a new beginning with a connection of that sort and some sort of a new fresh start that we want to do. On another level, we have to be careful that we are not overly idealizing and expecting too much, because this Neptune is in your 12th house, and that is the house of undoing, you could say. It is the house of trying to escape and trying actually not to see what's there in front of you. So with these connections, be a little bit down to earth. Don't expect too much from siblings, neighbors, whatnot. Do the positive side of Neptune, which is empathy, compassion, understanding, forgiveness of the self as well, that you didn't see maybe, you didn't see it coming, the connection with these people, that there was fogginess around it, and forgiving yourself and others is a huge positive Neptune theme for sure. Now on another level, a bit more practical level, could mean definitely when you have your own business, for instance, could mean your communication, your PR that you're doing. And using Neptune here in a positive way could mean that you are a bit more creative, you're a bit more inspired, and you enjoy the moment. You see where you're heading with that kind of energy. It could also mean a new beginning around learning something. But again, with the feet on the ground. So don't think that, oh yes, when I get this workshop done, I'm going to be a lawyer, which is, that kind of wishful thinking, or not wishful thinking, but grandiose thinking here, that it keeps you with the feet on the ground. So for Aries people, it's not that big of a deal. Why? Because Gemini sextiles your energy, so you will be fine. And it's definitely, it can also mean like trips that you're doing, new to a short trip that you want to do, and it's a country that, or some countries that you want to explore, and that gives you a new way of looking at things. And again, it could also mean that you're doing this to escape life a little bit. But anyway, so as long as it's not harming you on a mental and physical level, I think there could be some escape here with Neptune in your 12th house in a healthy way. Taurians, this is happening in your second house, which is your house, this new beginning. And so there is for you on a communicative mental level, a new beginning around money, around your resources, around how you want to earn your money, how you want to do that, how you want to structure that. Also about your self-worth. There is something here that is possible of a new way of thinking about yourself as well, but it squares up to Neptune. So the fogginess comes from your 11th house. And the 11th house is, it could be goals that you're setting up for the future that are a bit too big or too idealistic, not realistic, or you're putting up goals that are actually not the best for you. Or the 11th house is also the friend groups of friends, the friends that you have. There could be some things that are not really clear around them, and that it has to do with your self-worth as well. So that there is, it makes you think about who you are. And so there could be a little bit of a fogginess around a friendship or friendships in general, that you're thinking like, who are they? You know, it could really, really mean that, for instance, you had a certain opinion about a friend, whether it is positive or negative, it doesn't matter. It could mean quite a negative. Let's say a certain friend of yours, you say, you're very negative on that particular point. I don't like it. And then because of circumstances, it shows, or a conversation, it shows that they're actually way better than, they show up way better than you thought they were. So that is a fogginess. And, but after not knowing comes the knowing. So, it could have an effect on your self-worth. So be aware that, you want to work on your self-worth with trusting the self, right? So I'm not saying that you don't have to be trustworthy, that you don't have to trust your friends or anything. It's not always on a conscious level, but there could be things that are misunderstood, or you thought they were doing that, and it's actually, you said it can be as small as you thought that you're going to say something, you're going to come together around October time, and it's in September. You know, there is some miscommunication, and it's like a snowball effect that you don't know what's going on, and that has a knock-on effect on your trust of the self. So when fogginess comes around, it hasn't always to do with you, right? It doesn't always have to do with you. So don't fall into that trap of the guilt trip. Oh, is something wrong with me, right? So that's a bit the energy that I'm seeing here. And but certainly in the future, there could be nice periods of time coming up with your friends, for sure, or with a friend, and nice actions that you're doing with them, that are coming from the heart, and that you are really, really enjoying, for sure. Geminis, this is happening in your first house. So this is pretty important, of course, and especially when you have your birthday around the 18th of June, you are going to feel this very strongly. This new, every year around this time, you are getting your reset. It's like a new beginning, like a new way of showing who you are. This is who I am. This is a new start. This is like your personal, you could say your birthday, the new solar return. But it squares up to Neptune in your 10th house. So for some of you, the Neptune, the fogginess is around your work, around your career. You don't know where you're heading. Are you going to the left or you're going to the right? If that is the case, it's okay. Just sit with it. Be alert. Don't chase too much, right? Let things flow and show itself to you, so that after this new moon, there could be definitely for you some really good communication coming up for you. And certainly if you have your own business, also on the PR thing, that is pretty interesting for you to do. So it's if you don't work, then this 10th house could mean a parent, or it could mean the way that you want to show yourself to society, that you ask yourself, what is my contribution? So if you feel like a little bit like existential questions like, what is my contribution to life? This can be a really good thing, because there's going to come clarity for sure around this topic. The Cancerians, this is in your 12th house. So it is actually a quite foggy kind of new moon in the foggy house of the 12th house. So this is the house of self-undoing. So be aware that there's going to be a tendency for sure for you to try to escape, to try to, let's just go in a plane and leave all this behind. And you can do that. You can definitely do that. Probably some of you are going to do that, to escape in some form, but do it in a healthy way, do it in the healthiest way that you can. And this could also mean that you can escape in reading a good book, or reading a book around philosophy, or that broadens your mind. That is, a way of, you could say, coaching yourself a little bit. So look out for some coaches in your environment. It could be, a person that has some clues there where you want to talk towards, and they have some, interesting information for you that is pretty serious, but that helps you in how you want to do you in the future. I mean, this Venus and Mars is in your 2nd house. So this is about empowering yourself, becoming stronger, a stronger version of yourself, a better version of yourself. So this is definitely an interesting time for you on a more, hidden way. Right. So people are not going to know that you're busy with these topics. And that's fine. I mean, people don't always have to know what we're doing, right? Or what we're thinking. But so that's for the Cancerians. Now, Leos, of course, this is an interesting time with all this Venus and Mars in your sign. But this new moon is quite interesting for you and positive, because it's a sextile energy. Gemini sextiles your energy, and it's in the 11th house of friends and of goals for your future. Also, if you have your own business, it's a financial home house as well. So what it means, new beginnings there. Could be new friends coming into your life. It could be new goals that you're setting up for yourself. It could be a new source of income if you have your own business. But as I said, it squares Neptune in your 8th house. So the fogginess is in fear. So there could be some fears. If you have a new goal, for instance, you are quite excited and you're thinking about it and in a million ways, but there is some fear here that needs to be addressed. And the 8th house and some sort of a fogginess around your own deep psychological understanding. It could also have to do with money. So that money is involved in investments, and because you have some goals there, or some friends, money and friends is not really recommended with this energy. And but of course, yeah, if you can, unless you are saying, I'm helping out a friend and I'm giving them, for instance, $5,000 and I don't need them. I don't want anything in return. And that's the truth, right? So then you can do this, and even in the future, that you're getting this back double, you could say. Maybe not from this person, but in another way, but only if energetically you really don't have any trouble in giving it away, right? So that's really Neptune. When we detach from the physical realm, Neptune is really, I've seen that time and time again. But anyway, So very, it could mean also a friendship, that there is a change. There is a change for better or for worse around a friendship. There could be some really fogginess around friendships as well. And now after that comes that clarity, because you take action, you express what you feel, and that's going to be very good for you. Virgos, this is happening in your 10th house. Quite important because you're a mutable sign, and it's really significant if you have planets around the end of Virgo. You're going to feel that most there. It's some sort of new beginning when it comes to your career. It could be a new career. It could be a new phase in your career, or new information coming up around career. If you don't have career, it's how you show yourself to the world, what your contribution is to the world, your connection with a parent. It could be a new start here. But there's a fogginess. There's a fogginess with Neptune in your 7th house. So definitely, if you are in a business partnership, be careful with your two. What a Virgo, I mean, being a Virgo myself, it's so recognizable. Virgos can be very perfectionistic, and they have high standards for themselves, and I think everybody else is like that. If you do recognize yourself, write it in the comments. And but that's not the case. And that is what this Neptune is trying to show you, that not everyone needs to have your standard. Not everyone thinks like you. And it's humbling. It's humbling. And but of course, if it's in business, putting someone on a pedestal, or really not seeing what's clear in front of you, if you're in a business partnership, and you are doing 90% of the work and they're doing 10, wake up, right? So this could be those conversations, Mercury is squaring up to Saturn. Mercury is your ruler. So you could be having a tough conversation here, but you're going to be fine. You're going to do fine. You are a Virgo, and they discern. Sometimes it feels as a disappointment, but it is how it is. And these things can come up. So also with a relationship, it could mean that maybe you only want to see what you want to see, with this person. Be aware of that the tendency is a bit bigger to have really like, oh, they are magical, right? And so be aware of that. But definitely in your communication, being as clear as you can is already half of the job done. Librans, this is happening in your 9th house. This is a fellow air sign, so this is nice for the Librans. And it's in the 9th house, so a new beginning in that 9th house area. That is all about your mindset, basically. So it's really a new perspective. It could mean that you're studying something or about to study something really life-changing in a way when it comes to your mindset and how you see things, how you perceive the world. So there could be really, really an opening up there. Also travel could be there, some new travel and publishment and connections abroad. All of that could be highlighted here, but it squares up to Neptune in your 6th house. So the fogginess is in your day-to-day routine. So it could mean that you're traveling and you're not finding your routine, for instance, and you feel a little bit out of control there, and you're a bit confused. But all in all, I don't think this is going to be all the most depressing time, not at all, because again, when a new moon is trining your energy of Libra, this is very, very nice energy for sure. So just be aware that your routines, it's when you're that kind of person that likes structure and all of that, go with the flow a little bit and do the best that you can. Scorpios, this is happening in your 8th house, which is your house. So this is definitely a transformation. This is definitely an ending and a new beginning in your life. And it could be because of a very serious conversation this is a turning point, and that Neptune squares to your 5th house. So you have to be a little bit more, you're a little bit more prone to illusions around love, to see what you are, a person, especially when you've just fallen in love, you could really, really fall deep here. And there is this fight between, I want to show my vulnerability, which is the 8th house. You know, the 8th house is a house of not only of, you know, sharing resources, sharing yourself, basically, right? It's body, mind, and soul, you could say, but that makes you vulnerable. And so discern to who you are opening up here. And don't expect that the person that you're falling for, or in an existing relationship, that they have to solve all your problems, or that they fill up your cup, right? You fill up your own cup. That could be that transformation that is going on here. And definitely a new beginning also could mean around resources, with children as well. So there could be like a lot of money is going to a child. And I mean, that's possible, right? You know, and you have to be aware of this new beginning of trying to understand this in a better way. And if you not have to set a little bit better boundaries here. So, what else could it be? This could be a new psychological insight that you're having. And because of that, you are dealing with some trust issues. This is also a very 8th house kind of thing. But your heart is here definitely opening up. And so maybe you have been like, I say maybe, but I mean, it is possible. It's an example that I'm just giving, that you just fallen in love. And you're so open, right, when you fall in love. And but you have to protect yourself a little bit at the same time, that you are realistic. So it's that kind of thing. But if you know that you're falling and you're putting a smile on your face, and then you can enjoy it, and you're saying, hey, I have to slow down a little bit, right? I have to show who I am. And I have to know that the trigger that I'm feeling, or the trust issues, has to do with me, you know, with maybe with childhood, that I gave my power away and it was a bad thing, but now I'm an adult and I'm in control more than I know. So that kind of energy. Sagittarians, this is your 7th house. This is relationships for sure. There is a new beginning with a person, whether you are in a marriage, whether you are in a relationship, whether you are single, there is a new beginning here. So it could mean quite often that is like a person that you were in contact with and that you are reconnecting now with, that is quite important for you. There is this fogginess with Neptune though. So it does square to Neptune in your 4th house. So you have to be aware, because of this new beginning, and you're going to be excited about that you make sure that you're filling up your own cup, basically. So in a connection, that you're not desiring too much out of this connection, that you're not putting this person on a pedestal, that you're not making that person dependent or as a factor of your happiness. That would be not so good. That would be, you know, that Neptunian kind of codependent energy. So there is some codependent energy hanging around you, dear Sagittarians. But now that you know this, you can see it earlier, and then you can release that. But definitely new beginnings in relationships for sure. Capricorns, this is happening in your 6th house, your work house, and if you don't work, it's your daily routines, it's your health, it's your pets as well. So there could be a new beginning. You could be you really could be buying a little dog or a big dog. It doesn't matter. But anyway, things like that. Or a new beginning in the work regime, or a new beginning in work, literally. There is some Neptunian fogginess around it, and it's in the 3rd house. So it's around the way that you think. So be very clear around, especially in your work area. There could be some things that are not really clear for you. There could be some things that are said, that you say, that are not clear for others, or the other way around, know that it's just a time that you can even do your best and still people don't understand you. It is what it is. And detach yourself a little bit from that. Do your best and let God do the rest. But all in all, it's quite an interesting energy there of definitely new starts in your communication towards what you do every single day. And the thinking of that as well. Aquarians, very, very nice for you. This is a fellow air sign, so it trines your energy, and that is in your 5th house. So there could be a new romance. For those of you who are single, this is definitely possible. A new romance, a very witty person, Gemini kind of person, Gemini kind of connection with good conversations, wittiness around it, joyfulness around it. Could be a new hobby that you're doing. You could be doing a new something that you enjoy very much, and implementing that as a hobby, or some sports that you want to do. This is definitely, and some sports that is really, really good for you, because this ruler Mercury is sextiling Mars. You know, that's movement in general. So really good possibilities here to start all these things. A new project, you know, if you want to start a new project, very good energy. Again, there is the Neptunian fog, and that is in your 2nd house. So it could be literally a hobby that is, you know, make sure that you're not overspending with the hobby, that you're not spending too much money on a lover, right? It could be as simple as that. And, but also that you mind your standards and your values, because the 2nd house is your standards, your values, how you value yourself. And with Neptune there, because of a person or a love that you feel for someone, it could be like, ooh, am I just crossing my boundaries, my own boundaries of integrity? So it could be something like that as well, that you have to watch out for a little bit. But all in all, I mean, it's a nice energy to your energy. So I would say enjoy it. And last but not least, Pisceans, this is your 4th house. The 4th house is your core on an emotional level. It's literally your home. So there could be, yes, some Pisceans are gonna move, or gonna sell their old house, buy a new house, or go into a new apartment, whatever. Definitely possibilities here. On another level, it's your emotions. It's a new setup. It's a new way of how you deal emotionally with life. So a strengthening of that, or trying to renew it in a way that you understand yourself better, in the way that you nurture yourself. Could also be a connection with a parent, that there is a shift here happening and some sort of a new beginning. The square though, so the fogginess is you. So you are a bit like, you know, you could be very clear one day, and the other way you don't, and the other day you don't know anything. You know, that kind of feeling with Neptune in your sign. Neptune has been in your sign for quite a while, so I don't think this is something that you're saying, oh, this is, maybe you are rolling your eyes and you are saying, not again. But it is there to show you different directions, to show you different ways of dealing with your own emotions, and of being really accountable for them and owning them. And so because Neptune in the 1st house is like a sponge to other people's emotions. So it could mean also that you will need to withdraw a little bit from other people just to reload your batteries. What I see very often with Pisceans, I mean, Moon in Pisces for sure, but also people with the Sun or an Ascendant in Pisces, every now and then they have to retreat a little bit. So you could be doing some retreat there and some pampering, whatever that is for you, with this new moon in Gemini in your 4th house. But definitely, especially when you are a later Piscean a later born Piscean, you will feel this quite strongly, this new setup of your emotions and the way that you react towards stresses. There could be something bubbling up that confuses you, but that you now know, oh, it's coming from there. I have to do some inner child work is very much associated with this kind of energy, and you know, like honoring the child in you, and loving the child in you, and forgiving, and all that good juicy stuff, that is all very yin energy. So very nice indeed. A lot of healing actually for you, dear Pisceans. So that was this new moon in Gemini. I hope it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and have a very good new moon. Bye-bye.